Hello, my name is Sean Satterfield, and for my final presentation, I chose to do it on the skeletal system. So if we go ahead and get started. So for the anatomical structures of the skeletal system, it's really split into two main sections. You have your axial skeleton and your appendicular skeleton. So the axial skeleton is comprised of the bones of the head, rib cage, and the vertebral column, while the appendicular skeleton consists of the bones of the shoulder girdle, upper limbs, the pelvic girdle, and the lower limbs. Going into a little more detail on that, there are 5 different types of bones that can be found throughout your skeletal system. You have your flat bone, which an example of this is the sternum. You have the long bones, which can be your femur. You have your sesamoid bone, which is an example is the patella, which is in your knee. You got the irregular bones, which can be found on the bones of your vertebra. And then your short bones, which can be located in your wrist or your feet. So going into the functions of the skeletal system, it really has 5 main functions that it does. So number 1, it supports the body. It also facilitates movement. It protects internal organs. It produces blood cells. And finally, the skeletal system stores and releases minerals and fats. Moving in onto how exercise affects the skeletal system, maybe the most important aspect of this all is that exercise helps you increase the density and strength of your bones. This can be done by performing weight-bearing exercises because your body's going against the force of gravity, increasing the strength of those bones. And if you do this before the age of 30, it will help reduce the risk of developing problems that are associated with low bone density just by building that strength up. And if you do start maybe exercising after the age of 30, doing these weight-bearing exercises, it will just help maintain the current bone density in your bones. It will help reduce the risk of losing that density quicker. So, and finally, exercising can help prevent fractures in the bones by strengthening that soft tissue that protects all your bones. So I decided to find 5 weight-bearing exercises that you can do at home or wherever that are easy to perform. You don't need much equipment that comes with it. It will just use everyday stuff that you're surrounded with. So the first one is a squat. You can do this any time of the day, wherever you are. You just need a little bit of space to do it, and it's very easy. Secondly, you have your single leg single leg standing with support, and all you need for this is a chair, a table, or you don't even really need it. You can do it without that stuff, and really helps your balance too. Third, you got sit to stand. So all you're doing for this is finding a seat. You're going to sit down, and then you're just going to stand right back up and repeat that process. Fourth, you have a simple step up. For this, you can use a box, or what's easy is just go to your steps and just use the first step as that step up. And then finally, you have the forward lunge, which, just like the squat, all you need is a little bit of space and room to do this. You can do this wherever, any time of the day, whatever is the most convenient for you. And then, of course, there are benefits that come with exercise on your skeletal system. And like I said before, it obviously increases that bone density. It's so important. It increases the synovial fluid production, and it improves your coordination and balance, which goes hand to hand with the fractures. and it prevents aging associated fragility and osteoporosis. So it also is important that if you have health issues with that involve your skeletal system, you exercise. I decided to focus on two main ones, arthritis and joint replacement. So with arthritis, it helps strengthen the muscles around the joints. It helps maintain that strength in the bones, and it improves the self-esteem and well-being of the person that has the arthritis, just to make them feel better about themselves. And with joint replacement, exercise is important because regular exercise will help maintain the quality of that bone. It will improve the prosthesis fixation, and it will prevent early loosening of the replaced joint. And then just a few considerations on exercising in the skeletal system. Maybe the main one, which we all should know of, is fractures. There are several types of fractures, which I'll go into on the next slide. You have your bone spurs, which can be caused by exercise and are most commonly found in your feet. Back pain, which a lot of people develop from exercise, which can all just be brought back to improper form. That's why form is so important when you're exercising, because just doing an exercise wrong can misalign your back bones, which will cause that back pain. And then, like I mentioned previously, you have the arthritis, which stresses placed on the joints is more than what it can usually take. And this can just be developed by more weight being put on an exercise that you don't need, or just repetitive jumping from, say, an aerobic class. So here I have the types of fractures. You have your closed fracture, an open fracture, which actually breaks through the skin, a transverse fracture, spiral, comminuted, green stick, and oblique. So there's several types of fractures that can happen to your bones. And then finally, our skeletal system does age. So as we get older, so is our skeletal system. So when we age, the deposition becomes less than reabsorption in our bones. Our estrogen and testosterone levels decrease. Our joints become less flexible. Our vertebral column changes, which is why we see more people when they get older, they start to lose a few inches of their height. And that's why exercising is so important to the skeletal system, because exercises won't eliminate all these problems, but what it will do is it will help reduce the impact that the aging has on our skeletal system by just reducing the risk of all of these effects. So that's why it's so important that we exercise in our skeletal system. And this is just a list of the references I used throughout my presentation to help me make this possible. And that is my final presentation. Thank you.